Hello, family. Welcome to the Quantum Leap Your Life Summit. I am so excited to be with you again. Oh, we have such a beautiful day ahead, and I am here with my new friend, Satyen Raja. How are you? Joining us from beautiful Vancouver, BC. How are you today, my twin, my red twin?
You're matching today, so
I
I'm very happy to be here, and I was very moved by your such enthusiastic invitation and loving invitation.
know.
And when you asked me, it was just a yes. And so
Mm.
grateful for your beautiful invitation, and happy to be here for all that are dialing in right now.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel such a resonance, and it's so fun to come across someone kind of in this very cosmic alignment as we can do on social media these days. I first found out about you through my dear sister, who's also in this summit, so Lara Rose, who is a contributor, activator of our abundance codes within the Quantum Leap Your Life Summit. And I saw her interview with you, and I just, frankly, I didn't even listen to it. I just saw your picture in the video, and I was like, that guy, I need to connect with him. I felt your resonance, I felt your energy, and then I actually listened to what you were speaking to, and it felt so powerful and like such a deep reflection. So I just I love finally being able to share, and felt that as someone who has really been in the space of, let's say, healing, personal development, entrepreneurship, visionary leadership, embodiment, consciousness, all the things, quantum leaping, helping leaders of the world, visionaries of the world, quantum leap in all the ways they desire, I figured you would be the most perfect person to dive deep into the energetics of purpose and aligning with your purpose and how one can, as everybody listening to this summit is attuned to, like how can they live with more fulfillment and meaning, connection to their purpose, connection to their gifts, and all the good things entailed in there. And I'd like to start by asking you, kind of personally, on your own journey, is there a moment that comes to mind for you? I know there are probably infinite moments of awakening along your path, but is there one that comes to mind when you feel into your own quantum leap in your purpose and coming into alignment with stepping into the leadership that you embody now, and being a teacher and a healer, and I mean, whatever comes up for you, when was it that you felt like
Well,
you really
I've had
quantum leap your purpose?
this has happened various times in my life.
Mm.
Every 7 to 10 years, like a sand mandala, I tend to dissolve or transmute or transform whatever my current offering is.
Yeah.
Only because, like an album, an artist doesn't like to have the same type of music year after year. They like to make progressive albums and
Mm.
evolve. So too, I believe that's part of our nature. But I
Mm.
remember specifically once, this was about 20 years ago, where one of my mentors, I was in his training, and he was giving these, if you will, fun names to take on for the next few days. And these names had like a Zen koan value, meaning that they opened up some revelation. They were there as a koan to disrupt some part of the fixation in the mind, or bloom some quality that is atrophied in being. And so he named me Suffering While Waiting. And so what happens is you go, your name is Suffering While Waiting. And so I said, I'm suffering while waiting. And then everyone says, hey, suffering and while waiting, just to, and it just hit me like a wall, like of bricks came down inside. I
Mm.
had this beautiful life. From the outside, many people would have seen it as successful and at the top of my game and such. I felt very fulfilled, and had great time freedom. I had built martial arts school, and I had built a chain of hypnotherapy centers. I was a franchisor and a franchisee of these centers in Canada. And when he gave me that name, it's like all of a sudden I felt the fullness and the rightness that I had completed those prior purposes and missions.
Mm.
And that not only did I complete them, they had come to an honorable, loving, conscientious completion. They weren't they weren't in any abrupt state, any crisis state. They had come to a place where leadership was already within those places. And I had done that so that I could have my time, freedom, and such. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, when I had just attained my freedom, within a matter of months, my teacher says, no, you're ready for the big league. Get out there. And I'm like, ugh. Because when he made me suffering while waiting, he saw within myself that although I had it nice here, my soul was yearning to be fully lived, to be fully expressed, fully used by the Great Spirit, fully used by the world. And that set me on a course of really going, okay, what's next? And I found for me, I had to let go. And so I sold my businesses. I let go of my businesses previous to my family. Some I just let be. And I started from scratch with my family, young family. My beloved wife, Suzanne, supported me side by side in this. So I had my Shakti goddess right next to me. And then we decided we're going to go and serve people through trainings, events, teachings, guiding, coaching. And the essence of that is this has happened to me every few years, and I'm sure it's happened to all of us. Right? But the pivotal moment was I thought that only dissatisfaction would bring me into what's next. And it was actually fulfillment that was birthing a new offering. The same self, the same individual, the life theme, the karmic theme, all the way through was always the same, the essence, but the form of it, I started surrendering to its ever transmutation, and that the form of itself is the flowering to touch, but the essence is the steadiness that all the years of my cultivation continues to bring. The lesson I got for myself and I share for everyone is we're in a rapid space right now, a rapid time, a profoundly rapid time where our energies are being called forth. And even if you've got things safe or they're in disrepair, let it be. Find what is there. Follow that impulse and make your devotion to that impulse of what's yearning to arise next. Because anything else will only cause suffering, will cause you to suffer, and cause the world to stay in drag and drag. You know, so it's a love cry to all of us.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful. I love hearing your poetry. The way you're like just sharing is so beautiful and poetic, and so many great distinctions you bring up, especially what I really feel is this notion of, oh my God, I relate, suffering while waiting. Oh, like, isn't it so painful to avoid the natural cycle of growth and evolution that we're always being called forth into? And yet what I feel is like the mind or the ego, whatever people want to identify, you know, as this little energetic that I feel we're being called to transcend on a massive level, right? It's like the little stories that would say, it's not safe to expand. It's not safe to be seen. It's not safe to be all the way. Or just be safe, be comfortable here, be familiar, be in the known, what you think you know, what you think you can control. And it's actually so painful to stagnate in that space for too long, you know? And it's like, oh, that's really the journey that's been communicated by every single person in this summit so far. Like the common thread is, how do we drop into the heart? How do we transcend those moments of doubt, of fear, of the old stories, the old conditioning, to actually tune in with this innate truth, which all of us have, which is always guiding us, as you said, through impulse, through desire, through joy, through fulfillment, into the next right alignment, the next right step. It's always right there.
You know, you were sharing about this awareness, about this sense within ourselves that has a knowing. Now, the nature and the quality of the resonance and the vibration and the spiritual maturity, I'm sure, of everyone listening here, everyone knows what their intuition is. I don't believe there's anyone here, if we really look honestly, that has any shortage of intuition, any shortage of insight, any shortage of even knowing what that next step is and what to do. That's not what we're lacking in as awakened beings. It's those who have already awakened on the path of awakening. There is no arrival. We're in this continuous evolutionary awakening space, which is beautiful. But if we have that intuition and we have that knowing and we have that understanding, then why could there be any shackle on this? Why could there be any resistance to really what the universe is yearning for us to live, which is even greater freedom, greater love, greater flow, greater affinity, greater abundance of being? I mean, this is the nature of existence when we're undressed, unkempt, and that we let ourselves free and be with existence. But why do we hold that back? And I believe it's really something. It's the disease of convenience. It's the disease of spiritual impostoring. It's the disease of scapegoating into malevolent forces, past forces, psychological forces, my birth order, my unskewed over here. I don't have my biorhythms balanced here. I'm somehow undialed in this particular dimensionality. The list goes on based on your metaphysics. If you believe that whether you wear cotton or nylon changes your energy field, then all of a sudden, guess what? Cotton, nylon does. You've got another thing to check off before you finally do all the check marks you need to do to be a surrendered member of your galactic, in reality. Like, that's the actuality. So what is it? We're loyal to something that is shallow rather than loyal to our depth. And when we change our loyalty, and with courage and with fortitude, not just our transdimensional existence, but the mammalian forwarding action of direction and saying, yes, I will with my mammalian body, not just my esoteric dimensionality, but with my mammalian yes, with my hands in the dirt, my feet in the ground, my books out with my accounting, all the shit that the descending line, the dealing with reality calls for. I believe if we're able to embrace that and we say yes to it, and we take the small moves to do what we need to do, then the other folks will show up who do the stuff that is just perfect, that they need to do if you let them, if you keep inviting, if I keep inviting. So it's invitation, transdimensional spaciousness, knowing that we're an infinite being, traversing infinite realities, and then having the willingness to have what's truly in our soul resonance and the willingness to act on it.
I love the way you describe embodying heaven on earth and really grounding our higher dimensional beings and our multidimensionality into this earth plane, and being grounded and actually, taking that responsibility, that accountability, holding ourselves to a high standard of excellence, taking full responsibility, radical leadership over our lives, taking radical self-responsibility over giving ourselves what we desire most, and really making that our masterpiece. That's what I hear when I feel you. It's like, oh, this masterpiece I get to create. Wow, so spectacularly.
Exactly. May I throw out an interesting metaphysical concept to chew on? And if you try to take it on, let's see what happens.
Ooh, okay.
The metaphysical concept is there is no ego. Now, if there's no ego, there's no higher self, no lower self, no sideways self, no parallel self. And if there's no ego, there's no scapegoating of any act less than our highest onto some immature, unconscious, hurt, painful side of us. What that would mean is, if we really feel into, if there's no ego, there's just us, the divine self, an individual, a conscious, divine, infinite individual with absolute choice. And that's it. And that if we took all the extrapolations of ego, the psychological versions of it as a constellation of aspects that we don't like within ourselves, or somehow limiting, or somehow aggrandizing, or reducing our sense of self, or building it up, megalomania. If we remove all of that and we just go, what if what we're doing is what we're wanting to do right now?
Yes.
So if I'm being a treacherous, horrible person and mean and cold-hearted, then it's not my ego, it's me.
Yes.
I'm doing that.
Yes.
If I'm being kind-hearted, loving, if I'm being connected and I'm being forwarding in the world, then it's me. That simplicity, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's a Zen practice to clean the mind of continuously scapegoating or putting onto some aspect of unresolved self, unresolved past, unresolved psycho-spiritual dynamic, whatever the infinite schools of metaphysics offer as some form, as their explanation of limitation of our states. What I'm asking is just for a few moments, what if we pull the rug out on all of it and we just became a master right now?
Amen.
Complete and whole, idealized, messed up, screwed up, but only because we choose to be. Yes. Enlightened, awake, loving us, and life forwarding because we are. So let's just sit and play with that.
I'm there. I feel it. I'm God. And so are you, and so are we. And transcendent of all identity, like, wow, what do we get to create in the infinite space, knowing that in every moment, all we ever have is a choice. What are we creating? What are we responding to? What are we allowing? What are we seeing? It's radical. It's radical to be held to such excellence and radical responsibility, pure integrity, to see every single thing in your life, every single aspect as a gift that at some level you created and chose to be in the most perfect alignment, the most perfect evolution, the most perfect lessons that your soul signed up to experience. You know, it's like,
and maybe you picked some stuff that wasn't so good because you were a dick in that moment, or you were just a fool in that moment, or you were a drunk, or you were infatuated. Like, who knows, right? Like, let's own all of it, right? Let's own all of it, because I feel when we own the totality of us, as you said so beautifully, that we're gods, then there's no room. Then excellence doesn't become a benchmark. Excellence becomes, well, of course, what do gods do? Like Tantra is not something you learn, it's what gods do. If you're a god, you've become tantric. If you've owned that, that means you're the embodiment of celestial force in the actuality of this reality, which is Tantra. Abundance is recognizing that all that I have is all that I want. All that I have, right? I have this, which means I want this. And that begets and magnifies and magnifies. And only the God within us can do that. Only the God and the goddess that is us is doing that. I put out as a playful embrace.
I love that so much. It's so beautiful to feel, and it can feel. Oh man, if you had told me that like a couple of years ago, it would have been like, I'm not allowed to say that I'm God. That would sound egotistical. How does that make other people feel? I say that.
And, you know, we're having fun here. We're in the circle where we can share this type of things with exuberance. And what goes along with the power of choosing and being that is silent power. The magnification of silent power happens. Rare does any saint or sage ever say that God screamed at them. It happens once in a while. Maybe God in the form of a spouse, you know, but but it's always God came to me in some knowing. God came to me in a transmission, in a vision. The divine speaks to me directly. the goddess, the vine speaks to me this way.
Mm.
There's always a profundity in the silent power.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age, where loud power is the norm, we're in these social media worlds, communication worlds, every video worlds, all these worlds are in a way are calling forth people, and to get attention and shares and communications, there's a type of expression that's being called forth.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm inviting us to also feel is, can we allow the words we speak be deeper than the silence we break?
Mm. So powerful. I was really feeling that fully just landing. Everybody listening, I invite you to take a deep breath and really take that in. That's such powerful medicine, such a powerful invitation to embody what is true power, what is true, embodiment of this divinity. What is it really to just be? That your essence, your presence, your being speaks so much more about who you are, about your truth, than anything you could even say. Like, sometimes I feel words really kind of get in the way, actually, with what we already feel energetically as awakened, teleempathic, super psychic, intuitive, powerful, godlike beings. It's like we can feel everything that's going on, and then our words, our minds, like trying to catch up and make sense of it all and translate. And it's like some things are getting lost in the translation. It's like there's these different dimensions of as beautiful as social media is, it allows me to connect with soul families such as yourself and everybody listening in. It's like, oh, so many gifts. And it's such a playground. I feel like social media is a playground of energy mastery and practicing embodiment and practicing being and noticing with great discernment. Okay, what am I being in my ego identities and ego attachments? Or even if there is no ego, what kind of choices am I making here? In self-serving old identities, or self-serving like unconscious attachments, or externalizing my value. It's such a playground. I don't know if Facebook ever considered how their platform would be used as like this mass healing transmutation portal. I think about that often. So I have a question for you. I'm curious what comes up for you in like speaking to someone, maybe many of the beautiful souls listening in. What comes through you when asked, how can I come into greater alignment with my soul purpose? How can I tap in with my genius, with my gifts? How can I embody more of my authentic being, my authentic essence? How can I really drop into my purpose, my essence? How do I make a beginning?
Oh. I want to pry underneath with my heart a little, with everyone, and ask, don't you already know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't you always already know? Always already? Always already know? Whenever I've not been living my purpose, it's not because I've been confused.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I didn't know. It's just because I didn't. I have a litany of reasons. You have a litany of yours. We have a litany, and we have a litany of them, right? And we've got a solution for each litany. And finally, I just realized, what must I do today? Today, so that I can love fully? What can I do today so that I can live fully? What can I do today that I can die fully? Without regret. Like, without regret. And it's a genuine inquiry I like to ask myself. Some days I wake up, I feel superficial. I don't feel like asking myself that, but I will anyways. Some days I wake up with a sense of deeper reverence and connectedness, and I ask, and I get a real deeper answer. Some days I get up with a bit of freneticness, knowing what I have to face or deal
Mm-hmm.
with in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I use that as the ultimate dial-in for myself to center me and put me on the path.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, what must I do to love, to live, and to die complete today? So asking you, Sydney, my friend, asking everyone there, asking myself, for me, there's one of my mentors I'm meeting, one of my coaches today, one of my Brazilian jiu-jitsu teachers, and I'm going to go and hang out with him, and I'm going to give him all my gratitude for how he served myself and my son in as a mentor to our life. So that's what feels that if I do that, there'll be a sense of I fulfill this inquiry within myself, and that I've moved my life forward and I've expanded my dharma, my path. So, do you have a share on that?
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm taking in, witnessing you, feeling this process is so heart-based. It's so feeling, it's not even about like, how does this look or what makes sense or what would be the rational path, and, kind of speaking to that conditioning we're all moving out of, and or maybe just completely gone. It's gone anyway, it's already gone. But I love how you demonstrated the feeling, wow, what would feel most enlivening, fulfilling, pleasurable. That's something I felt you feeling like, oh, what do I desire? What would feel so loving? What would be so beautiful? These are questions I love to ask as well in that inquiry. And for me, when I follow that same inquiry, I'm so grateful. My heart is smiling so big because I'm in this moment fulfilling all of the above in this communication and this transmission and this heart connection with you and with everyone listening through time and space, through all the dimensions that we span. And I could cry feeling into that joy of being in it now. Like there's actually no future to do or even like a commitment beyond this moment that would even like further complete it. It's like, wow. And I have such a reverence for that awareness. It's like, whoa, this is such a miracle to witness. Oh, wow. Yeah, deep gratitude for this presence. Wow. So I'd like to ask you, okay, yes. What's a growing edge for you in your present moment embodiment of this beautifully aligned, like purpose-filled life, but in this expansion, in this evolution in which you're always dancing and always being invited into more quantum leaps and more just capacity, expansive capacity to hold more, share more, feel more. Is there a growing edge you experience right now in regards to your own purpose, in regards to your own service, your mission, your genius embodiment? Do you have an edge?
My jujitsu is always an edge when I go.
Cool.
Because it's not just physical, it's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And it keeps me clean and honest. And, it in a way, bullshit proofing. Because there's always a ton of people way better than me. And so I enjoy that edge. And it's fulfilling at a soul level. The other edge for me is, my wife and I just this last few days have been initiated into a new era of our life. Our youngest son has now moved out. Our daughter moved out 2 years back. So
Wow.
I don't want to use the term empty nesters, but we are now in a new phase, my wife and I, Suzanne, of our romance and our passion and our mutual evolutionary ecstasy. So this opens up. So that is an edge because it's like a new freedom,
Wow.
You walk around my house naked again. With her.
That's so fun. Does it feel
The
like
kitchen's, I think we're going to cook more than food in the kitchen now.
I love it. Does it feel like a second, like another honeymoon phase? Is it like
Yes.
nostalgia
Yes.
feeling of like, we're back.
The other phase is in my leadership work, Um, we're launching a community of warrior sages, dojos who are practicing um, self-realization methods together, or helping each other discover and find what their passions are, and that are all connected to the greater good, and supporting each other, helping each other arise together. So this is an edge for me. It's not a business. It's a move. It's not even a movement. Where I realize, one of my mentors taught me years ago. He says there's service for service sake and service for exchange. Which one is of a higher moral value, oscillation, frequency? And I immediately says there's service for service sake without any type of exchange. And he said, no, he said they're the same. You just have to be clear which one you're with. If you're in an agreement with someone and it's just for service sake, do that with joy, no expectation. If there is where an expectation, have it clear, have it articulated, have it on paper, and then really go out of your way to give them the service, the product that's going to be very, very valuable for them. And they'll give you an exchange in the form of money or whatever they do. So I realized that although I serve people without money, I coach and I serve and I make my help in the world silently the way I like to do it. I really got it's time now to awaken and to support communities who are awakening together as warrior sages who are independent, 1 foot in the metaphysical, 1 foot in the, well, I did it the other way, 1 foot in the metaphysical, 1 foot in the temporal. And that's my edge, is to see how strongly we can create international communities of people serving their community, all for free, without any exchange, all enlightening each other and rising together. So I'm a little, it's my edge. You got me going. That's my edge.
It's so exciting. I feel that. It's so beautiful. It's like, oh my God, you wouldn't be having the call, the desire, the inclination, the inspiration coming through if you weren't meant to rise to the occasion, to hold all that light, hold all that love. Oh, it just feels so good, so expansive. Wow, you're such a mirror for me. I feel I'm similarly being called into like this capacity. That's what the word I feel is most resonant. Like, just, okay, how much can you really hold? And it's infinite, right? The light, the love, the power that can channel through is infinite. And the edge of feeling that fully embodied, like, whoa, what's it like to touch into this depth of pleasure, the depth of ecstasy, of aliveness, of like real power. Wow, what's it like to really surrender fully to the unknown, creativity, infinite potential wanting to be expressed through me, to surrender my attachment to the story of how it must look or how it must make sense or how to market it, how to invite people into it, all the like the different dimensions that come into play. But that's it. The community piece is so, I feel that call so strongly to create. It's not even creating, it's like activating and bringing together the communities that are already in existence, the people, the pods that are already out there in the world, and like, how do we connect all of them together and create these big beacons where we can gather, especially in person, which I know is something that you offer as well, like these cellular in-person activations where people can really just, oh, we create such quantum leaps together. Something about being in person, right? It's like, do you feel that? There's just some unspeakable quantum leap power that happens when we can be together and share energy and like, just, it's so, it's like my favorite feeling.
Face to FaceTime.
Yeah. It feels so beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know so many people tuning in are like, activating so many little awarenesses, and just so much is flowing through them, and feeling the mirror effect that we offer each other is really, so lovely. Tell us about what you have happening and how people can play with you. And also, you already gave so many practices in terms of self-inquiry and embodiment, and how do you show up in life now, like integrating more of this leadership and divinity presence, power, purpose alignment, etc. But if there's anything else that feels alive or present to share with regards to an embodiment, like integration piece that people listening into can take with them, you're welcome to share that, as well as other ways people can play with you and connect with you and just get more of you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
My website is warriorsage.com. And that's where you can get involved and become part of our Warrior Sage community and dojos where we practice together. And you can also, if inspired, find out how to be a leader in your own area and become a dojo holder. My current work right now is with leaders like myself. And the other academy we have is called Accelerated Evolution Academy. You can find all of that at warriorsage.com. And that's an academy for helping professionals. If you're a person who's a professional in terms of serving other people as a facilitator, a guide, a healer, physician, therapist, and such, you might want to check that out. It's a training which helps people learn really deep and fast, transformative, like cutting edge transformative tools that take people right to a soul level of transformation in a very quick time. So that might be of interest. And we have our Warrior Sage community on Facebook. And so if you'd like to just get in touch and find out and connect and chat, and I post things there, Warrior Sage community, and you can look at that on Facebook.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's been such an honor and pleasure to connect and just drop in. And I know it's just the beginning of the ways in which we'll co-create and play, and I'm just so excited to share this moment and all the moments coming. Wow, such a beautiful moment. Thank you.
It's been a beautiful joy being with you. Your heart and your lightness of being, and you're a beautiful inspirational force in the world. I'm very grateful for what you're doing in the world as well, and the lives you're touching. Thank you for the honor of having me.
No, thank you. I love you so much. Hugs. Yay. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. See you tomorrow. Love you so big. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful.